Hi, my name is Anne Sinclair. I am Chief Learning Officer at Reading and Math, Inc. My background is in special education and special education research, specifically the best ways to coach and train educators to implement evidence-based practices. I came to Reading and Math, Inc. in 2019 because I was so impressed with the way that we use the power of AmeriCorps to implement truly impactful evidence-based practices in schools. Not only do Reading Corps and Math Corps consistently evaluate practice to make sure our programs are impacting student outcomes, we also provide the human capital necessary to put those practices into action, which is a really unique contribution to the field. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our Reading Corps and Math Corps programs and how they fit into the educational landscape. Educators in the United States are required by two different laws, the Every Student Succeeds Act and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, to use evidence-based practices in their instruction. Evidence-based practices are effective educational strategies supported by evidence and research. We also know that educational resources and opportunities are inequitably distributed in the United States, and that not enough students have access to high-quality, evidence-based educational practices shown to improve literacy and math skills. Due in part to those inequitable opportunities, nationally in 2019, 35% of fourth grade students scored proficient or higher in reading, and only 34% of eighth graders nationally scored proficient in math, according to the National Assessment of Educational Progress. That means a lot of students, about 2/3, need additional support to meet reading and math proficiency standards. So why reading? Third grade is a critical milestone for kids. Up until that point, teachers spend a lot of instructional time on the skills necessary for reading. After that point, teachers shift their focus and ask students to use their reading skills to comprehend content across subject areas. Reading skills facilitate access to all other subjects. Literacy impacts social and economic outcomes as well. For example, at least one longitudinal study has shown that children who are proficient in reading by third grade are 4 times more likely to graduate from high school. Reading Corps supports students age 3 to grade 3 because we know the earlier students get literacy support, the better their outcomes. Why math? Research shows that 8th grade math skills are the gateway to high school algebra readiness, and success in high school algebra correlates with access to college, graduation from college, and earning potential. Science, technology, engineering, and math professions continue to be among the highest paid and fastest growing. Math Corps supports students in 4th through 8th grade to develop pre-algebra skills in numbers and operations to support later success in mathematics. The Institute of Education Sciences, the National Reading Panel, and the National Early Literacy Panel have developed guidelines for effective reading and math instruction based on rigorous research. We use those principles in our practice to fit into systems schools already use to support students' literacy and math skills. RTI stands for Response to Intervention, and MTSS refers to multi-tiered systems of support. The terms can be used interchangeably. Both terms refer to systems schools use to identify and serve students who need additional support to succeed in grade-level curricula. RTI and MTSS are tiered systems that are resource-intensive and require a lot of input to work adequately. There are generally 3 tiers of support. Tier 1 refers to whole class instruction from a general education teacher. Tier 2 usually refers to small group targeted intervention with an evidence-based practice, and Tier 3 is often even more intensive intervention and support. The systems require universal screening, which means administering a brief assessment to all students to determine who might need additional support at least 3 times per year. Schools also need to identify and purchase evidence-based interventions, which is another name for packaged evidence-based activities. They need to train educators to use them, and they need to monitor the educator's implementation of the intervention to make sure they're implementing the practice as intended and shown to work. As you can see so far, this is a really resource-intensive process. In addition to all that, educators need to consistently monitor student progress and response to intervention using assessments on a regular basis to make sure that the intervention is working, and if it's not, they need to make an instructional change. They are asked to make database decisions about when to change interventions or to give students more intensive intervention. And the really magical thing is that our programs do all of these things. Now I'll talk a little bit about our 3 standard educational programs. PreK tutors are embedded in the classroom to support students in all 3 tiers of student support. They support whole class instruction, small group, and one-on-one tutoring. Tutors focus on making high-quality literacy and math activities a part of every moment of the school day. If you have questions about the content of the PreK program, please contact Director Allison Breininger at the email address listed here. K3 reading tutors support supplemental practice of phonemic awareness, phonics, and fluency skills. These literacy skills were identified by the National Reading Panel as essential to early literacy instruction. They meet with students one-on-one or in pairs and deliver targeted literacy skills practice in 20-minute daily sessions. If you have questions about the content of the K3 reading program, contact Director Marin Kyoga at the email address listed here. Math Core also targets students in need of Tier 2 intervention, supplemental support with lesson plans that target conceptual understanding, computational fluency, and word problem solving. Math Core members use manipulatives and explicit instruction to reinforce math concepts. If you have questions about the Math Core program, contact Director Angela Hall at the email address listed here. The model Reading Core uses to support students is rooted in educational research and follows the principles behind responsive intervention. It is a data-driven model. We assess students to determine their eligibility for the program, and we monitor their progress in response to our interventions. Tutors use evidence-based literacy and math interventions to support the literacy and math skills students are learning in class, and coaches support tutors in their implementation of interventions so that they are implemented as they were designed and proven to work. Research tells us that training alone is not enough to improve educator implementation of evidence-based practice. Sustained coaching is necessary to maintain high levels of implementation quality. So Reading Core and Math Core provide initial training, follow-up training, and sustained coaching support to ensure practices are delivered in the ways we know improve student outcomes. Reading Core and Math Core have been shown to be effective at improving students' literacy and math outcomes in multiple high-quality research studies. You can read more about the research outcomes at the link listed here. We are so glad you are joining the team to administer Reading Core and Math Core, and we look forward to working with you. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to pass them along, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for your time.